What up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Average Joe's X and O's podcast. Max and Nick back with you 2 weeks in a row, dude. We're fucking making progress here.
Like this is a habit or something.
I know, dude. Last week we did our own little mock draft, alternating picks. This week's a little quiet. We got a couple things to talk about. Nothing, too crazy going on. It's kind of like the calm before the storm. Before what are we 3 weeks out before the draft? I think.
Yeah, it's towards the end of this month. So
it's
pretty close.
Yeah, because it'll be on Thursday. So what, like 3 weeks or from Thursday?
2 weeks.
Yeah, something like that. I hear these prices up in Cleveland are insane. I was looking at, I don't know if there's general admission tickets, but everything's like in a package, and like it starts at the top package and it's like $3,500, includes food and drinks, and that's just for, I think maybe that's all 3 days. But like the minimum one is just for day one, and it's still like $1,500. So unless you can drink that amount of food and alcohol, I don't even think a hotel room is included in that. That's pretty wild. I
usually spend that at sporting events. You know what I mean? Because the beer's like $600 a beer.
Right.
So
Yeah. But it's like you could literally go to Mexico for a full week, all inclusive vacation for cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? I looked into it and I was like, there's no way. There's no way I could do it. I would love to go.
Because they don't have general admission, right? You can't. There's no general admission where you can just, I don't know.
Right. There's like a fan draft experience you can go to that's free. You can pick like your time slots to go to. But it's not like access to the draft like you would normally see like on TV, which is what I would want to do. Like I want to fucking be like there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Rooting for whoever the Bills pick, booing all the other picks when the commissioner comes up, booing the shit out of him, being as loud as possible. Although with your mask on, I don't know how loud you can be, but we'll figure something out. But yeah, dude, it's expensive, but it's still going to be fun. And you know what? Honestly, if I'm not going to spend the money to go to the draft, I was going to hang out with the boys, drink some beers, and watch it on TV, man.
I was going to say, dude,
I think it's just going to be a better experience. Too,
I mean, even just hitting up like one of the bars in Cleveland that are local to it, I think would still be fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Every year, I always rock a jersey. Got the Bills gear on.
Last year it was all virtual shit. I might have to do that again since I'm out here in AZ.
I usually take that Friday off after the draft for the very specific reason of if we go to the bar to watch it, or if we're fucking getting hammer time at the house, like I want to have a day of recovery. So it might have to happen again this year, but it's coming up, bro. I'm excited about it. I've been trying to really, with work and shit, man. It's just been like I've been trying to play catch up on some of these prospects, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Try to dive a little bit deeper, so we have a little bit better understanding of some of the guys that are going to go in the later rounds too. So
that'd be dope if we could. It'd be a long ass live stream though. I'd say live stream.
The draft.
It'd be pretty long.
We'll do it live.
Let's do a couple hours.
Let's do it.
And then I was gonna piggyback on that. What the fuck? I was gonna move into what we were gonna talk about because you mentioned prospects, and something that's interesting that's popping up is I just saw it before we hopped on here. Second pro days some of these players are having, like Justin Fields. Apparently, everybody and their mom from the 49ers is going to be there. Now it's rumored that the Patriots are going to be there, and there's a rumor that the Patriots are going to try and move up with Atlanta at number 4. I don't know. If they do that, maybe they're definitely going after a quarterback. I don't know who that's going to be.
I think Atlanta's defending that pro day as well.
But for all these motherfuckers that kept preaching Mac Jones to the 49ers for whatever reason, I'm telling you, if everybody from the 49ers organization, they've kind of been very vocal about, taking a quarterback too. It's, maybe it's a tactic. I don't know. You already know who Jacksonville's taking. Apparently the Jets are locked in on the fucking Mormon kid. I'm going to call him Mormon kid because,
the Stormin' Mormon.
Yeah. So they don't have to really fake anybody out. So they can kind of go get the guy if Justin Fields is that guy, and I think he is. So, but second pro days is interesting. I think, without the combine, it makes sense. Maybe he's going to do some different things in that time. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what goes on moving forward. Are we going to see this still when the combine comes back next year? Our players just going to continue to have their own pro day, make that maybe the bigger hype than the combine and opt out of the combine and just do everything on their own terms and then have more than one day?
Listen, I think the combine is good because the NFL dictates some of the drills that they run.
That's true.
Right? So you get some of that experience. And it's not like it's drills that they don't carry over into practice settings and things of that nature.
Well,
so,
as a QB, it's beneficial because you're throwing the receivers that you don't have chemistry with, and it's going to be like that for a minute, when you get drafted.
Right. Right. And you get that, that experience of, okay, really you're looking more for where are they placing this throw? What are the mechanics looking like? Specifically quarterbacks. I mean, obviously every other position is you're looking for movement skills, fluidity. The important part is the interviews that happen as, the combine's going on. But these pro days, this is where I think scouting staffs that have been in place are going to shine through, because I mean, these pro days are good because you do get to see some of the stuff that these guys are doing, like some of the athletic traits that they have, particularly with Fields, what kind of throws he's able to make. But again, this stuff is scripted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Whereas you're talking about, guys that at the combine, you don't have any experience throwing to these guys. You just say, hey, here's the throws you're going to make. Here's the drill. And it kind of shows your mental makeup. Like, okay, here's the drill. I've never done this drill before. We got to go through it. What kind of, can I remember what I'm supposed to do, for all players involved. So it's it's a little bit more in depth, I think, on a combine level and at a pro day level. And I think that's why a lot of guys are going to be really resorting to the research they do for these prospects, the film that they've watched on these prospects. And if you can get any sort of long-term interview or, whatever with these guys, it's going to be very beneficial from a scouting staff standpoint. So do you think, I'm curious, because you said, obviously this is Justin Fields' second pro day. You think it's more for Fields to showcase his skills, or are they trying to showcase other guys at this pro day instead? Because I know
interesting.
Alabama had 2 pro days as well, where Najee Harris didn't work out, and then he did work out. So I don't know if they're just trying to showcase different players, and Justin Fields is just like, screw it, I'll be at both to help out and do whatever I got to do. Or
I mean, that's pretty interesting. You mean like players that are going to get drafted, that are in the draft this year?
Correct.
Okay. I thought you meant maybe like receivers that are still playing for Ohio State that are just running routes to kind of, maybe people can get an eye on them this year for when they come out next year, that kind of thing, which, is whatever.
Well,
I mean, you still got a whole,
Could even be that though, but I'm just talking about like Alabama had, like Mac Jones and some of those guys worked out, and then they had, a second pro day for some of the guys.
I mean, I'm trying to think, because that's why Ohio State, that's why I'm predicting that. I mean, their receiving core is going to be like what Bama was this past year. Like their receiving core is going to be so freaking ridiculous that like I don't know who else is coming out besides some defensive players. Offensively, I think they got everybody back. Maybe I think one of their offensive linemen's leaving, but a lot of their linebackers are gone. So
this could be just a Justin Fields. Hey, let's show out a little bit and then bring some of these other guys on the map too.
Dude, speaking of Ohio State, dude, I don't know if you saw this clip. It's kind of hard. It was a shitty video, but Kyle McCord was. I think he's one of the top QBs that the QB room at Ohio State's deep too. I don't know who's going to start. There's a couple different guys that are ballers that. But this Kyle McCord kid, I think this is the kid from Texas. I can't remember. Was looking pretty good. And then they got that running back that I shared you a couple months ago coming in too. So spring ball's going on right now. They're putting in that work. And I mean, yeah, dude, I just think Ohio State's going to be back where they were next year, but this time probably be a little bit better, depending on if their defense can improve a little bit. I don't know what they got working with over there. So I mean that we'll have to wait and see till the season starts. But offensively, I think they're going to be able to put up crazy fucking points. Regardless of who the quarterback is.
It should. But I think Fields is probably one of the better quarterback prospects to roll through Ohio State.
Absolutely. So, absolutely. For sure.
I think we'll see that reflected in the offensive play this coming season for them. But
But yeah, as far as other people trying to showcase, like I said, unless they're just were players that like maybe didn't start all the time. I'm just offensive. I mean, Master Teague's coming back. They're getting the new running back in there. Olave went back. So like, I mean, I have no idea who else offensively that could be showcasing besides Fields. I don't know, but it could be maybe, and I don't know how long his last pro day was, but maybe a second pro day is allowing him to, because you got to see his deep ball that kind of went viral a little bit. Because a lot of people thought that he couldn't throw deep, but he clearly can. Maybe he's just going to show some other things that he didn't get to show on day one. So I don't know.
Hey, you know what? He's got more exposure with, front office people, coaches, maybe they didn't get those guys didn't get a chance to interview him the first time around, and they wanted to have another one so he could showcase those skills and do an interview with some of those guys.
Or maybe he pays attention to these national media dudes and like thinks it's crazy that they're picking so many people over him, and maybe he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna prove that they ain't shit.
Listen, I honestly, like I said, I flip flop him between 2 and 3 constantly. I look at it, just depends on whose stuff I'm watching that day. Like, oh man, dude, Wilson, baller,
Jets,
and then
the Jets. I was looking at, or Pat McAfee. I don't know if you saw it. He shared, dude. It's literally almost identical to where Cleveland was a few years ago in terms of the quarterbacks since 2000 or something like that, and it's pretty fucking insane. So they're kind of getting in that that same mode that the Browns were in for so many years. And it wouldn't surprise me they take a kid that's kind of a one year wonder, with some question marks. So the Jets are a very interesting organization there for sure. To just be all in on that guy right away, like you would think that they would at least look at fucking everybody, So I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, I don't know. This year's going to be interesting because, like, statistically, remember, or I shared it with you, I think last week. I mean, besides Josh Allen and Baker, I mean, Darnold's no longer with the Jets. I mean, how many quarterbacks that are taken like in the top 10, pan out? A lot of the time, majority of the time, they don't. You know what I mean? So
and a lot of them honestly aren't even. Yeah, a lot of them aren't even on the team that drafted them.
Anymore. Right. So we do this every year. We're like, oh, this is going to be the next QB, and it's like, well, fuck, dude, maybe not. So. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. I'm excited, man. It's making the offseason go fast. And you know what? Oh, shit. I brought it up last week about how we've had a lot of shit to talk about. Dude, this time next year during our offseason, don't forget, we're going to have the XFL going. So we'll have fucking content in the offseason next year, which would be great. I forgot about that. I'm kind of excited about that. Wish it was on right now because I still think it's going to be fun to watch. What else? What other news we got? So check this out. This ain't really news, I guess. But one of the guys I know who he goes to my gym, he works at a golf course here in Arizona, in Scottsdale.
Okay.
And OBJ and Saquon Barkley have been working out together because they both have the same injury, so they're rehabbing out here. And those two and LeBron, I guess, were golfing. They've been golfing a lot, I guess, but they were golfing the other day. And this dude I know was like talking to them and shit. He said it was pretty cool. He was talking about like Saquon, like seeing him in person, like you hear about the quads, and he's like, dude, it's the craziest shit I've ever seen. Like how big his fucking legs are.
Yeah, he's Quadzilla, bro. Like the dude has got the biggest legs on the face of the earth.
He said even OBJ though, he's like, what's weird is like, yeah, maybe he's not that tall. They said like, he's like, dude, he's just got like these long ass arms and his legs are long, like for his body. Like he's like, it's no wonder why he's fast as shit and like super athletic, But it's just crazy to see the different builds between all these athletes. I guess OBJ was pretty drunk too, which is funny. I don't look at, I know if that got out, which is, it's tough being like kind of a celeb athlete like that. People always like to hate on OBJ. And I know if that got out, people would be pissed, but it's like, dude, these players put their bodies through fucking training for 365 days a year. They can get a couple days to fucking, and rehab. Don't forget the rehab of the knee. So like, who gives a shit? They can enjoy themselves, especially in the off season. But I just thought that was kind of cool, and I bet you they're trained. There's a facility there's 2 locations. It's called AJXO. I did that video thing there once. And, it's just like this crazy facility where a lot of, the professional athletes go and train and shit. So pretty cool shit. But I thought that was cool. I wanted to bring that up. I mean, I guess while we're on Arizona, the only really news that came out today that I didn't even know until literally like 20 minutes ago. Cardinals signed James Conner, which I think is interesting. I don't know what it is with the Cardinals. Like I was predicting, I think I picked for them in our mock draft, and I had them
running back
taking Najee Harris just because, based off Cardinals' decisions and like moves they normally make. But I mean, their backfield's James Conner and who's been banged up lately, and then they got rid of Drake. I don't even know. I think they have Eno who played at ASU, who was a beast.
Yep.
So I think they do have him. So he's a young guy. So I mean, I don't know. I'm not really sure what they're going to do, the Cardinals, but I'm going to keep an eye on them and see what they do. I just don't know, man. They are interesting.
Well, so this signing, I think, doesn't necessarily take a running back out of contention for them in the first round.
No.
But it does add some good depth and good competition there. The 1-2 punch of Connor and Edmonds, or Chase Edmonds might not be, a bad thing.
I could see Connor being like a tough yardage type of back, and then they could use like a Najee Harris, because Najee Harris can play out of the backfield and catch passes, and that offense throws a lot. So
it's not like Pittsburgh had a tough time running the football last year, just in general.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I
think he still has some juice in the tank. I mean, he flashed in his first year with Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? So
he was just banged up a little bit.
Yep. If he stays healthy, I don't think I think it's a pretty solid signing, at least from a depth perspective, man. Like,
and he's still kind of young, I think.
Yeah. So get a guy that's still fairly young that could come in, compete, and it really opens the door for you to kind of take best player available. And if it's a running back in that position, and you got him number one on your board, take one. If it's a corner, you know what I mean? Take a cornerback. If it's a lineman, take a lineman. Like, it gives them a lot of options. I like the signing. I didn't see details as far as contract details go.
Yeah, I didn't see that either. It's probably like a 1-year thing.
I guess it's a little bit more of a minimum deal for sure. But.
Yeah. The only other moves I think that we can keep an eye on, other than this, yesterday was rumored to. Wait, what day is it today? Today's Tuesday, right? Yeah, today's Tuesday.
Yes, it is.
Monday, the Clowney was supposed to do his second visit with Cleveland, and it was rumored that he was going to be signed. They were going to come to terms on a deal, and now it got moved to tomorrow. So Wednesday, that could be done. And I think we talked a little bit about this. Clowney is 28 years old. He's been pretty injury prone his whole season. I think his best years with the Texans, with him and Watt, I mean, they were complimentary of each other for a couple of years there in Texas, or with the Texans. I'm not against the move. Like if they sign him, it adds depth, because what are they going to expect from Clowney, right? He's still young, upside if he's healthy. They got Tack, right, who's another guy who they got, still a young guy, didn't really put up the production for the Falcons that was expected, being a high rated edge rusher coming out of college. I think he lead. I think I was reading something up on him. He I don't know if he led college football his last year playing college ball, but he was up there in terms of production for defensive ends. But I think being with Myles Garrett might help him out a lot. But here's the thing that a lot of Browns fans don't know, and maybe the other people don't know, and I brought it up on the show before. The Browns also got Weaver last year from Miami, right? Another kid played at Boise State, I believe, right? Do you remember? It's Boise, right? Who was a stud, right? Was with Miami, was injured though, so he didn't play. And then last year, the Browns got him in a trade. There was video recently, like a month or two ago, of him running and stuff. So it's looking like he's going to be back healthy as well. So they got with Clowney, they got 3 dudes who potentially could be, really solid and get their careers back on track, opposite of Myles. So it's like a low, you're not paying these guys a lot of money. There's obviously risk in terms, there's not even that much risk because of the money issue. And there's potentially some high upside to everybody. And then it could be a really nice rotation going in there. So, when I look at it like that with those 3 dudes in the building, I'm like, okay, then the Clowney move kind of makes sense because he's not going to be expected to be an every down rush end. And what does that do? Brings him in situationally and keeps his odds of being healthy a lot better. So, I think it actually might be an okay move. And like I don't know what Clowney wants with money, but he's not going to get a big deal anywhere.
I wouldn't think so. I said my idea of kind of where he's going to be, I think he falls in maybe like a $7 to $9 million contract.
It's not going to be much higher than league minimum.
Yeah. Probably. I don't know. I can see him signing like a $7 million or like a $7 million contract, roughly, like in that vicinity, which is still not bad. But you got to get the production out of him.
Yeah.
Which has been hard to find the last couple of years. It's one of those deals though. Like you guys are in a really good spot where you can take a guy like that. Yeah. And say the rewards far outweigh the risks of a 1-year contract with this guy. Yeah. Because you do have some depth behind him,
Yeah. And then you have freaking Miles, so it's like it makes it a lot easier having Miles on
right. Exactly. And that's why this decision.
And I keep saying Miles on one. I keep saying Miles on one side, but like teams are starting to do this where they swap.
Yep.
So
matchup dependent, Myles Garrett's a guy that can play either side and still have production regardless, and I think it'd be an so what it would do is it would bring competition to camp, with Clowney there, and push comes to shove. If he doesn't get a majority of the snaps and you guys rotate guys, like you alluded to, that's only going to help your defensive line stay healthier. But he could come in and, fresh and produce, Yeah. I would think if you can you would obviously want a little bit more than like what you got out of Olivier Vernon. But I see it as if this guy can stay healthy, like a healthy replacement for his production. But like I said, you'd want to hopefully get an upgrade out of it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where I see it being, which isn't a terrible thing because Vernon actually, when he was healthy, played pretty well for you guys. So that's kind of
it's a very small sample size, but yeah, I mean he was healthy for the most part this year. I think he blew out his Achilles though, so like I think he's done.
Yeah, but I mean, you could get that production out of him, if not a little bit more. But you gotta look at what did he do last year, and last year was not a great year. He hasn't really strung together a lot of productive seasons since he's been in the NFL, partially because of injury and partially because of who knows what. But it's if he can flash in games and come in big spots for you guys, especially from a pass rush standpoint, I mean it's a good pickup. And details once it's finalized, we're assuming it will be. I'm guessing probably by the end of the week this week. We'll have to see contract details. And then we'll have a better idea of what how we feel about it. But I also feel that minimum. Yeah, that's a legit steal, bro.
I feel like it also would change the draft pick because a lot of people are saying rush end. I've been kind of saying if one of these top linebackers, they still might go after him. But I'm really leaning towards an interior defensive line guy because Larry Ogunjobi, they didn't sign him back, right? And they did pick up. The guy from Philadelphia. What's his name? He's been around the league a lot, but he's getting older. Yeah. He's getting older. So like I feel like they're going to want to add depth in the interior defensive line. They do got some other guys, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's what they kind of went with that pick.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It might change that up a little bit. So that's something to keep an eye on during this draft. So yeah, it could be interesting. Keep an eye on that for sure.
I think, you might get some late camp body signings here just before the draft. This is where teams are really starting to finalize draft boards. So like you're really, you're getting down to the crunch time of, all right, we're starting to really, finalize and put these boards together a couple weeks before the draft rolls around. So, we're gonna see any signings that happen between now and the draft are indicative of what front offices think are going to happen, who is going to be available for them, especially if you're drafting mid to late parts of the first round. You're going to see them. If they're signing veteran corners, that means that they don't think they're going to get a corner they like to be in that position.
Yeah.
Same with defensive linemen, et cetera. So I think as the days go on and we get closer to the draft, if we see any signings that come up, I think it's indicative of, hey, we don't think we can get a guy that can really contribute any more than what this guy we're bringing in on a veteran deal is going to do. So maybe that does deter the Browns from, if they do sign Clowney, from going defensive end. Maybe they do corner, or target a quarterback in the draft, or target a linebacker in the draft. So it kind of opens that door a little bit. It does kind of push you into all right, maybe this is what they're looking at now. So.
Yeah. And it's funny, like even just talking about the draft and stuff, getting all excited for shit when really like every year we see it, like people get drafted in the first round and don't pan out. So it's just kind of funny we do it every year, but it's fun. It makes it fun.
Listen, man, like it comes down to expectations, right? You're a first round draft pick. I mean, the pressure is on for you to perform. Regardless of what position, like you need to perform it. You need to be a guy that comes out and, makes a statement because you were selected in the first round. In most guys that, you see a lot of guys that are fifth round and later that are on teams that are studs, or even undrafted players that are studs. And it's because you have no expectations going in, and you literally are the underdog. Like, you got to battle for every rep, and it's a mentality. So it's kind of like, you get the guys that, oh, I got paid. I don't have to really, I'm going to protect myself. So like, so like that's a thing that comes up and happens. It's a psychological thing, but these guys that don't get that opportunity or are a 6th round draft pick, though, I'm an underdog and I know I can do this. And that's why you see a lot of those guys stick, because that work ethic, it's a mentality side of it. So, but then again, if you're drafted in the first round, that's why you got access to the pick that you want, and you have some blue chip talent that usually is there, and that's, you get the guy that you think is best for your organization, and you kind of go from there. But I love it, man. The draft time is always like one of my favorite times, because
it's one of the only things going on really during the off season. So that's why it's become such a big spectacle.
It's that, but it's like you get kind of introduced to, anybody that spends time to look at the players and kind of dive into it, it's, you're already introduced to these guys, but not everybody has the time to be able to do that. So like, this is your first exposure to a player that you might not have any idea what he's about. You know what I mean? So it's good to get familiarized with him. Plus, brilliant by the NFL. It's just another hype video getting ready. It's just another hype train to get ready for camp and everything. So, which it works. Yeah. I get hyped for it, and I even fucking know that's what they're doing. But
dude, it's crazy this offseason's going this fast to begin with, dude. And speaking of dictating the draft based on free agent signings, I said earlier about the rumor that the Patriots were trying to move up the 4th spot, and then they were going to Fields Pro Day. Obviously, everybody knows they need a quarterback. However, with Edelman retiring, and last year, one of the Patriots, things that they were, was making it hard on Cam is like receiver wise, they didn't really fucking have anybody. They drafted the kid from ASU, fuck's his name, who hasn't really panned out yet. Big receiver.
Harry.
Yeah, Harry. I think he could still probably play, but everybody else was getting pretty old, right? So. What if they move up to just build around Cam? Maybe they take one of these quarterbacks that's not maybe a top pick, but maybe they take him in later rounds. Like, you still got the kid from Texas A&M. I forget his name. I forgot about him coming out. I was watching a video on him the other day.
Kellen Mond?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Kids like that. There's a few more. I'm drawing a blank, but that might be like 2nd round guys or something like that, or maybe even a little bit more that could pan out.
Listen, man, I think.
But what if I'm getting at is, what if the Patriots take one of these top receivers in the draft to start?
They could.
You know what I mean?
I mean, their already elite wide receiving core has just been hampered by future first ballot Hall of Famer Julian Edelman retiring. So we're gonna,
let's calm down on the Hall of Fame.
So we're gonna have to deal with that nonsense.
You know,
And that debate that's going on. And if you hear a phone ring,
it's a pretty wild debate.
Here. But no, listen, man, it could be possible. But look at the Patriots' MO over the last few years, right? Like they literally trade back all the time. So unless they think they can get the quarterback they want by trading up, I don't know that they do. I just can't see them trading up because a guy like
but they've also been aggressive in the free agency, which they've never been before too.
Well, they kind of had to, man. They kind of had to put those pieces, and I think they did it because they are targeting a quarterback. I really do. I think that the reason they did what they did.
They did. Who'd they pick? They did sign a receiver, didn't they?
Well, they signed Kendrick Bourne and Aguilar.
That's right.
So I mean.
So they got Harry Aguilar and I don't even know who else.
Bourne, the same guys they had. Crap, who were the two guys they had?
I think they're definitely going to try and add a receiver for sure. But it brings up the question though. It'll be interesting.
It's a good depth position in the draft this year.
Right. That's right. That's true.
I could see him even moving back if they're going to move up and maybe want to try to target a guy and they like a guy at the end of the first round. Why not try to get back up into the back half or the last part of the first round and get a guy they like? Yeah. That's something that's a possibility. But I think if the quarterback's there that they like and they're targeting, yeah, they can move up. But otherwise, I can't really see him moving up too far to get somebody, especially wide out. If
Do you have since we're on the debate of this career of Edelman, and don't get me wrong, dude played at Kent State. I know you hate him because he's a Patriot, but he's definitely been clutch and a big part of the Super Bowl teams. But some stats here, people. I saw it on Twitter, friends of mine saying, oh, a Hall of Famer. But then you look him up, okay, 3 Super Bowls, 620 catches, 6,822 receiving yards in the regular season, 118 catches, 1,442 receiving yards in the postseason. Now, I don't have anybody to compare him to in front of me right now, but I can tell you as long as it took freaking what do you call it? Freaking Terrell Owens to get freaking in the Hall of Fame. I know for a fact without even looking at a sheet that Terrell Owens numbers shit on that. So like what are we talking about? Like just because like Edelman was part of those stacked Patriots teams and they went to Super Bowls all the time that he's automatically a Hall of Famer. Like when you're looking at his stats compared to some other players currently that aren't going to be Hall of Famers have better stats than that. And no one's going to be like, oh, the Hall of Famer. So let's fucking chill on the Hall of Famer talk. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
you said what the Bills like Emmanuel Sanders. You said his stats are higher than that.
His career stats are already better than what Julian Edelman ever had.
Yeah, and he's not going to. He's a good receiver, but he's not going to be a Hall of Famer.
I mean, postseason, no, he was not. He doesn't have the postseason career that Julian Edelman has, but also Julian Edelman had the luxury of making the postseason like every fucking year of his career.
Right.
The Patriots were just so dominant in that era. Hey, if he was stuck with the situation that the Bills or Jets or Dolphins were in, where he only got like 4 playoff experience, 4 playoff games, this wouldn't even be an argument.
Right.
And great, he did good in the Super Bowl, and he does have a Super Bowl MVP. I will give him that. Congratulations, bro, on the Super Bowl MVP. But outside of the Super Bowl MVP, he contributed hardly anything in the regular season, as evidenced by his stats. He actually has worse per game stats than what Cole Beasley's had with the Bills in the last 30 years or 2 years. If you look at his per game numbers with Tom Brady through his whole career, and then you look at Cole Beasley's per game stats, like Cole Beasley is better than him from that standpoint. So contributing in the regular season, he really didn't do anything. I get it, the postseason where shit matters, and he did have a great, probably was one of the better, if not the best postseason receiver there was. But listen, man, Steve Tasker was the best special teamer of all time. You don't see him in the Hall of Fame yet.
Right.
I didn't realize that, we were looking at best postseason receiver, like, of all time, can get in. Like, are we going to say, the best postseason defensive back of all time is going to get in the Hall of Fame because he had didn't have any tackle, like few low tackle numbers, low pass breakup numbers, didn't do shit in the regular season. But you know what? He had 3 fucking interceptions in the postseason. They won a Super Bowl, and he did it for 3 consecutive years. Like, is he going to be a Hall of Famer? Like, come on.
Yeah, I think people still forget, like, it takes the team to get that far. So,
he's not even a top 150. He's not even the top 150 players in receptions, yards, or touchdowns. Like,
right.
It doesn't make any sense to me. He had a good career.
He did have a great career. But like when you talk about like Hall of Fame, you look at Jerry Rice, how he could take over a game, or like even Michael Irvin before he got injured with his neck. Those guys who were just complete fucking. I mean, even Owen.
Right.
I mean, fuck when Owens was with 49ers and then went to the Eagles. I mean, he was so fucking dominant. You know what I mean? Like, those are the type of guys that have those stats and are the guys that are. I mean, look what Diggs is doing right now with Buffalo, and what Hopkins has been doing with freaking Houston and with the Cardinals. Like, that's what a Hall of Famer looks like.
Listen,
a future Hall of Famer.
You want to base it on clutch plays in the playoffs? Fuck it, put David Tyree, Mario Manningham, and Santonio Holmes in the Hall of Fame because they all had real clutch plays, and one of them, fuck it, dude. Santonio Holmes had one of the most clutch catches of all time in the Super Bowl to have Pittsburgh win against Arizona.
Right.
Fuck it, Hall of Famer. Let's go.
Yeah.
If that's what we're gonna use, like, come on. It's a little egregious, and I do hate the Patriots. Fuck the Patriots, but let's be real here. Like, it doesn't that should not be the criteria for the Hall of Fame. Like, was he undoubtedly the best receiver in his era, or one of the best receivers in his era? Anytime anybody talked about receivers during his career, was it like, fuck, dude, Julian Edelman, he's the guy. He's a top 5 receiver in the NFL. No, it was like,
I'm trying to think. So that means he started playing with 12-year career. What are we in? 2021. Well, he played 2020 season.
Right.
2008. I'm trying to think back. 08. You had,
like, we're talking like when we were talking about Calvin Johnson.
Oh yeah.
Was he in the same conversation with Calvin Johnson?
No.
As receivers.
2008. That would have been a year removed from when the upset when the Patriots lost to the Giants. I mean, I think you still had like Plexico Burress playing back then, didn't you? I mean, he was a stud. Not saying he's a Hall of Famer, but he was fucking a stud at one point. I mean, you had Steelers. Fuck, Tony Brown was playing then, right? He was taking over games. I think he was playing then. Maybe that's a couple years before his time. He hasn't been in the league 12 years. He's 30, 31, 32. But yeah, there was tons of receivers back then that, I mean, Fitzgerald still fucking going. That's a Hall of Famer. Now he's slowed down towards, these last few years, but I mean, his production's still fucking great. I mean, he's definitely going to be a Hall of Famer. That Super Bowl against the Steelers, I mean, Fitzgerald is one of the best receivers in that time. So
listen, this is just the year 2008. Here are some of the receivers that were playing.
Okay, let's see it.
Okay. Andre Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, Steve Smith, Roddy White, Calvin Johnson, Greg Jennings, Brandon Marshall, Wes Welker in 08. You got guys like Reggie Wayne, Vincent Jackson, right?
Fuck.
Okay, let's look at 09. And this is just for leaders. Again, Andre Johnson, Wes Welker, Miles Austin.
I forgot how much of a beast Andre Johnson was. I think
Randy Moss was still playing. Santonio Holmes was still playing. Like, you're telling me that he is in the conversation with guys as far as top receivers, there. Okay. There's 2010. Brandon Lloyd, Roddy White, Reggie Wayne, Greg Jennings, Mike Wallace, Andre Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, Calvin Johnson. Like, I haven't fucking seen Julian Edelman's name yet. Hold on.
No.
2011, Calvin Johnson, Wes Welker, Victor Cruz, Larry Fitzgerald, Steve Smith, fucking Gronk.
Steve Smith, forgot about Steve Smith.
Gronk outproduced Julian Edelman when he fucking played for the Patriots. Let's see here. Mike Wallace would be next. Okay, yeah, all right, cool. All right, well, still haven't seen fucking Julian Edelman up here. So, like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, when you're looking at these wide receivers, he's like not in the conversation at all with any of
Right.
these guys. I just, yeah, I
Dude,
mean,
you just
is
rattled
Brandon
off some
Marshall is
guys.
Brandon
I
Marshall
totally
making the fucking Hall of Fame? No,
you
we've
rattled off
seen.
some guys there where I just forgot. Like even I mean they were great during those years.
I mean, AJ Green, Julio Jones, are they making the Hall of Fame?
Nope.
They had fucking better
What about
careers than.
fucking I don't know what his stats were, but TJ Hushmanzada in his prime was fucking a
He was a
monster.
baller.
You
He
know,
probably outproduced. He probably
I
had better
guarantee
stats
you
than
he
Julian
outproduced
Edelman too.
Edelman. Yeah, they never
Yeah,
went to the
that's
playoffs
what I'm
and shit.
saying.
But I guarantee regular season he did.
Like, yeah, I just don't understand the argument. But anyway,
Yeah, no, I mean it's interesting. I think
I
people
could
just
literally go on and on like forever because of my disdain for the Patriots and how
because
much,
everything you
like
just pulled up, like the data against it is so strong.
those are just receiving leaders in
Right,
those
right,
seasons.
right. Well, like you said, I mean, Edelman's name wasn't up there, so he was just a good piece, to what the Patriots did. Nothing wrong with that, but great career, 12 years. That's long in the NFL.
Yeah.
That a lot of guys probably kill to have that career. So it's just interesting. Interesante. I've been studying Spanish. I don't know if you know that or not, but anywho, so I guess we'll talk about this. Moving on, because it's going to set the tone for what might come leading up to this season. You mentioned it before we started, so we'll end talking about this. Supposedly, the Bills are the first team to require the COVID-19 vaccine to go to games. So if you want to be breaking tables this year, yeah, it looks like you're gonna have to get that fucking that little vid back.
Get that shot, gotta get it.
So I guess the question is like, I mean, you got yours. I mean, you already had COVID, but I brought up and we'll get your thoughts on this. Just being from the Midwest, I mean, Buffalo, Akron, I mean, pretty much the same fucking thing. In the Midwest, like I just feel like a lot of people will, especially like hardcore fans like that, would probably, who are maybe already against getting the vaccine, might fight this a little bit. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think a lot of fans will just say fuck it and kind of boycott the game, or do you think a majority of people will say fuck it, I want to go to the games, we couldn't go last year, let me get this fucking vaccine?
Well, I will say Bill's Twitter currently is a shitstorm.
Is it?
Fucking opinions on it? Yes, and it's generally two sides.
Okay. Twitter is actually, I didn't know this, but it's actually like a smaller population than you think. But it's interesting because that's where like a lot of news is.
Well, here's the general opinion I'm seeing of people. You have a choice to get the vaccine or not, and if you decide not to, you're gonna just suffer the consequences, and one of the consequences is you're just not gonna be able to go to Bills games. It's their argument is if schools require you to have vaccines to attend a public school, it's a similar principle of a public property like what the Bill Stadium is, right? And Erie County dictates what happens in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same reason why you can't fucking bring cigarettes and beer into the stadium is they dictate that there's rules in place, there's things that need to go on. The other side of the coin is that people are pissed because it's infringing on constitutional freedoms of Americans to dictate this. And now you're going to mandate it. If you mandate it for stadiums, or you're going to mandate it for grocery stores, what kind of floodgate is this going to open up? And it's going to, what kind of problems is it going to cause? And I have seen people that are like, dude, it's the dumbest thing in the world not to get the.
No, you cut out on me. Frozen. Can you hear me?
It's not a huge percentage.
Oh, you cut out there. You cut out there. You're frozen.
Oh, was I?
Yeah.
Did you hear me at all?
No, like you paused around. Oh, you're talking about people who why wouldn't you get the vaccine?
Gotcha,
I think that's where it cut out.
All right, so like the people that are saying like, why wouldn't you get the vaccine? Are saying, you know, efficacy rates for the vaccines are good. They seem to be reliable in reducing symptoms or completely eliminating any sort of contraction of the virus. It's not 100% eliminating it, but in like 90% of cases, you know, 75% of cases, it either cuts completely the symptoms or you don't have severe symptoms and can't spread it as easy. So, you know, they're like, why wouldn't you get the vaccine? And, you know, despite some of the stuff that's coming out now, you know, you see the Johnson & Johnson like vaccine with the blood clots in it. But let's be honest, man, like there's over 7 million people that have gotten that vaccine and 6 people have reported, you know, that symptom. So like the percentages of that side effect in particular are pretty low. You know, and it is. So it's one of those things that we don't know a ton because a lot of times vaccines are vetted over a 5 to 8 year process. You know what I mean? For clinical trials and things of that nature. So yeah, this is a little bit of a rushed process.
Like you might grow a second cock here in like a year. We don't know.
Fuck, dude, that'd be interesting. Huh? Holy shit. But yeah, I mean, you got a lot of things that could happen. You got a lot of stuff that we don't have answers for yet, right? I'm on the side of I think based on what's going on with some of the variants, some of the things that are happening with COVID, that we're never going to really reach a herd immunity on it. We can get close, we can prevent a lot of it, but I think it's going to just be, I think it's going to end up being similar to like, hey, we get boosters for it, just like the flu. We try to predict what variants are going to be out, you know, try to protect you against those variants to keep you from getting sick. And it just gets mixed in as a booster with the flu, and we go on with our, you know, with our lives. And so at that point, I never got flu shots. I never really got sick from the flu, you know, so like I never really got them. So yeah, I think this part could be a choice because I don't think you're ever going to eliminate it. You know, if they say we can eliminate the virus, get the fucking vaccine, okay, cool. But COVID's been around forever. Just different variants of COVID have been around forever. We've never been able to get rid of it. So I just don't see that happening. So, you know, I say it's your choice. Get it if you want. Don't get it if you don't want to. Whatever. I'm cool with it. Just realize that a repercussion of that is you don't get to attend an event. And if you really want to, like, you know, you got to make, what do you prioritize? Like, I don't see it progressing now. Yeah, if you start seeing more infringements on can't go to the grocery store, whatever, you know, like that to me might start becoming a little bit more of a problem there. But you're talking about 70,000 people packed shoulder to shoulder in an event where a virus like what COVID is has spread the way it has. You know what I mean? Like it's a very easily contracted virus. So in the grocery store where you have social distancing measures you can put in place, and you have mask measures that you can put in place to help reduce the spread, that's a different story than fuck it, let's get a whole bunch of drunk people together in a stadium, you know, with players on the field, people in, you know, in press boxes, employees in the NFL, like they're, you know, that's a completely different atmosphere. So I can understand why they would mandate it for an event like that.
Yeah.
So I don't mind it. Guess what? You have season tickets, you don't want to get the vaccine, you want to participate in football games, fuck dude, I'll be more than happy to buy season tickets and try to attend season tickets and go to season ticket holder. I don't give a shit. Right. I like the Bills. I did what I thought was socially responsible. You know, regardless of what you feel about it or not, that was after researching, that's what I decided to do. And you know what? If I get to fucking attend those games because of it, cool. I'm good with it. But
yeah, it's very interesting. You know, because like they're talking about, you know, maybe making it a requirement to also just travel in general, that kind of thing. But I wonder if any other teams, definitely not Texas or Florida, will also do the same thing. I think it's interesting because, I mean, you talked about the different opinions on the subject. And I mean, for me, I was having this conversation today. Like, I do think it's interesting, you know, forcing people to get it, to do things is kind of a murky water area. Cause it's like, okay, given the circumstance of the pandemic, makes it, makes it interesting pretty much. But it makes you also wonder, because a lot of people fucking kind of don't trust the government as it is. So it's like, if you make people do that, it's like, where is the line after that for other things? You know what I mean? Which is a question that you probably won't find the answer to until the future, so it's kind of hard to say. But it's definitely something to like discuss, because it's like, well, people can argue like, the amount of people that died from getting COVID versus, not, and people recovering, because nobody ever reports the recovering side of it. It's like the news only reports the fucking dark shit. But for me, I mean, I don't plan on getting it, only because it's not that I fucking disagree with or don't believe in vaccines or anything like that. It's just because like I've been around it, like in terms people around me have gotten it, I mean, I guess I don't know how far back the antibody test goes, but if I'd be interested to get that just to see if I did have it before it hit last year, because there's a point in time last February where I was fucked up. For me, it was only like 5 days. I didn't like lose smell or taste or anything, but like for me, it was like the way it hit me and like the way they were saying that COVID hit you, like I fucking had something, and we all joked around about it at that time. A lot of people traveled to my restaurant too, so it would make sense if it did hit me that early, or if it was here earlier than what most people thought, so like either I already got it and then built up the immunity and didn't get it when I was around other people, or maybe I'm immune to it. I don't know. But I just think about it as like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right. That's the only, like, that's it. Like, I don't know. Do you remember H1N1 in 2009? I think I was drunk that whole year, so I don't really remember it being a big deal here. Do you?
I do remember it. Yeah. I wasn't necessarily concerned with it in 2009.
I mean, we were both probably fucking hammered.
Like, I would have been a junior in college, so like,
right, we were probably the same.
Yeah.
Probably getting shit faced, and
right.
Right. Probably didn't think two things of it, and I never got that vaccine. I don't even think I've had the flu vaccine, honestly. The
flu shot is like, it doesn't cure you of the flu. They just predict what variation of the flu is going to be out that year, and hopefully it could reduces your likelihood of catching or getting the flu and getting severely ill from the flu.
Right. So, that's the only reason why I don't plan on getting it, if absolutely they force you to like travel, like if I can't go visit Ohio or something, then I guess maybe I'd be forced to getting it. But, and then bringing up the, for other people, the one thing I think that's been missing for like this whole pandemic is these health officials. It's like, it's kind of funny because like at some point though, because we do know like data wise that like a lot of people that were having complications were, either older, obese, people, that don't really have the greatest health to begin with. So there should have been more of a push to be like, hey man, like, basically what I'm getting at is at some point, like people's health is their own responsibility, nobody else's, sure. Some people who, I mean, there's been some UFC fighters that have gotten it pretty bad. But then the other argument is the fact that those guys also like to train really hard to the point where like they're so fatigued that they have compromised systems, there's lots of factors, but but yeah, I mean, at some point, people gotta fucking be responsible for their own health too. What was I gonna say? I just fucking lost it. It was kind of funny, actually. Oh, the one thing that doesn't make sense to me is like, like my dad's really big on this Fauci guy, and I'm not discrediting anything he's done, but it is kind of weird. We just have one dude that kind of, is the guy that like for years that is responsible for making these decisions or like, telling people what to do with disease like this. And it's like, but doesn't science work with like a bunch of people, like experts on the same caliber, tossing ideas around, studying? It's just kind of weird that we just have one dude,
Well, that's where I think, as time goes on, we're going to see, what transpires with this. And really, that's the only way you can vet a medicine or anything like that. I mean, for the longest time, smoking Julie Garland in The Wizard of Oz was prescribed, listen, to lose weight, you got to smoke like 5 packs of cigarettes and drink
Oh yeah.
fucking apple cider vinegar or whatever it was that she had to do. And like smoking was like looked at as something that,
Oh, doctors used to
that
fucking.
doctors like, right. Cocaine was the same fucking deal. Like there's shit that,
We could bring that back.
and we're like,
People would get real fucking skinny. We just bring cocaine back. Fuck it.
Dude, yeah, fucking A. Like that's the truth. But like there's shit like that and as time went on, they're like, oh fuck this. Maybe we should remove this. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so we'll see. Like, there's no way to predict what could happen. But in the past, the process has been we've provided vaccines in a very similar manner, and it has not caused any long-term effects, depending on what you believe. But science has said, hey, you know what? This has been going on. We've eradicated polio. We've eradicated smallpox. Your kids get measles, mumps, rubella. You guys get tetanus shots, and you get boosters every so often. Like, this is shit that happens. And, outside of us being completely random weird fucks, there's not really any side effects of it. You know what I mean? Like, it just fucked me and you up, from getting them. But, outside of the point, like, like that stuff that they're looking at, and, all right, here's a track record of this. Obviously, it's a new virus, and there's some new things that they're doing. But
I personally think with the NFL, though, I think a lot of teams might actually try to avoid it just because they lost so much money last year. And I think it does become a money thing. They want to make that shit back. I think that's why they fucking added that 17th week so quick. They've been talking about it for years, adding more regular season games. And I think just from last year, it'd be like, hey, we lost a lot of money. We added a playoff game that generated some income for the NFL and some teams, but not all the teams. So what do? Oh, let's finally take away a preseason game and add a week 17, generates a whole extra revenue stream for this year that can make up for the loss of 2020. So, for the people that, I want to see like if they could still sell out stadiums requiring getting the vaccines. I still think a lot of those Midwestern people who are like, fuck that, I feel like are probably football fans, the hillbillies, I think might try and boycott it. But I want to see like if they can still fill stadiums that way. But we're going to find out. Obviously, the Bills are on the forefront of it. So
I mean, this is an unprecedented decision. You know what I mean? Like,
and they made it quick. The Bills made it pretty quick too.
Well, and I just it's obviously caused a lot of controversy amongst the community of Bills fans. I'm not saying that. I'm gonna keep an
eye on that, and now that I know this, I'm gonna go on Twitter and kind of take a look and see what's going on.
Well, I'm not saying that Bills fans represent the nation as a whole, but
but I mean
the varying.
It's a blue collar town, though, right?
Well, yeah, but it's one of those deals that's like, I will say certain communities might be more accepting of it, whereas maybe Western New York. I saw some statistical things that are like only 44% of the population in Western New York has gotten it, and there's like open appointments, like anybody can go. So like, they might not necessarily firmly believe in getting the vaccine versus other communities that are out there in the United States, specifically cities and communities that have NFL teams. You know what I mean? Like you might see people in Minnesota say, fuck it, we're getting the vaccine and they mandate it and they don't have any problems because the community thinks, what, this is good. We want to do this. Let's just do it. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that this specifically, like the reaction I'm seeing from Bills fans is going to be the reaction in every community that's out there, or that they speak for every community that's out there, but there's varying opinions on it. I mean, that's just a fact of the matter. And if NFL teams start mandating it, I think you're going to see, I think you might see maybe not necessarily a drop off of things, because those people will still probably go back, despite how pissed off they are that they can't attend games, or still going to watch it at home, right? So, like,
I mean, I prefer to watch the house anyway.
Hey, I'd love to go at least one game a year, but it's just one of those deals that I'm curious to see how that's handled versus like you already know Miami, Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, like they're not going to have that mandate. Like Florida's just like, fuck it, YOLO.
Florida
whatever.
and Texas, no. I mean,
they barely even require masks.
Yeah,
They
Arizona.
barely even require masks when you're out there. So like, like that's not going to be anything. But I'd be curious to see, by making this decision, are the Bills going to have trouble selling their home games? They might.
Maybe. I mean, we're going to find out.
And if that's going to be a concern, going forward, maybe they.
How many people does the Bills Stadium hold?
Right around 70.
So 70,000 people in Buffalo would have to get that vaccine.
Here's the thing too: in that community, there's fans that drive from Canada to attend games as well, and I don't know how that's going to work. There's kids. There's there's a lot of things to consider. Right now, anybody under the age of 18 can't get the vaccine. So what happens to those guys?
Like kids can't go. That means kids can't go to the game.
Mark Poloncarz, the Erie County executive, did say by the time football season rolls around, there should not be any restrictions on the age groups that get the vaccine. So you should be able to get that, and have no problems with attending it. But those are questions that, like people will have on this. And, I think as football season rolls around, maybe it calms down a little bit. I just think the initial shock of this is what we're doing. And I can understand both viewpoints. For me, fucking man, I got it. So dude, I don't have to worry about anything.
I don't know. It's still kind of like being talked about right now. I don't think it'd be a good one to go to, but I got a guy that I work with who is a Cardinals fan. I mean, he's more of a diehard ASU fan. So, but he likes to go to games in other cities and shit. And then since the Browns and the Cardinals are playing Week 17, he's like, we should go to that game. I'm like, oh, you want to go? I was like, you do know it's going to be cold Week 17, right? Like, you're an AZ born and raised, like you're going to be fucking cold. He's like, no, I'll go. So I'm like, all right, well, we got to go a couple days earlier then so I can take you to Tito's and meet my boy Fernando, because I always go there on Thursday. I was like, can you go on like a Thursday? He said, yeah. And I'm like, all right. So but here's the thing. I think either team, I don't know what's going to happen with the Cardinals, but if they can, win those tough games, beat the Rams, beat the Seahawks. And I mean, that division's, I don't know where the Seahawks are at, but the Cardinals should be able to compete. They might be competing for a playoff spot. So maybe they have to play their starters Week 17. I'm banking on them. Probably not. I don't think the Browns are going to play their starters Week 17. So it might be a shitty game to go to because I don't think the starters are going to be playing. That's why that's why I'm kind of like, I don't know if I really, really want to.
Or maybe it's maybe it's a super important game and it ends up being a really fun one to go to.
I mean, it's true. I mean, we won't know until.
Like, what if the Browns are playing for the division and the Cardinals are playing for a wild card spot because San Fran returned to its glory, Seattle's competitive, and the Rams are competitive? You never know.
That's true.
I feel like you could bank on that being the case. Like, I was looking at the Browns schedule, and
I think I think it's pretty tough. I forget what it's rated, but it's supposed to be pretty tough this year.
Yeah,
like 9th toughest or something like that.
But
yeah. So what I'm getting at is like I'm potentially coming and watching, taking him to that game, maybe getting a group together to go tailgate and show him Cleveland, and he likes to party. He's an older dude. He's all married and shit, and like. He likes to kick it, so he would enjoy it. He's a funny dude. So he's the one that wanted to fight me when I was talking shit about ASU losing to when they lost to USC last year. He wanted to fight me because he was drunk and I was talking. I wasn't talking. He dishes out the shit talking, but he can't take it very well whenever it backfires. So he loved it when Ohio State loses. Always gives me fucking shit. So I didn't do anything different. It's just he was salty. ASU
just the circumstances were a little different there.
Yeah. So. But yeah, that might be planned out. We'll see as the season. We got a lot of time before that. But yeah, I can't wait to get back and can't wait to these games. It's crazy how fast the season goes, but I don't know. Every year we're in this off season that's somewhat long, and we're getting there. Once the draft passes, it's we're in May, and it's camp's right around the corner, and we're there before we know it. So
yes, sir.
I'm pumped. Can't wait. But before we go, I'm going to bring this up because I mean you don't really watch MMA or anything. But there's a I don't even know why I've been looking it up, and I'm not gonna watch it because obviously I'm gonna have to work and I wouldn't pay money for it. But Ben Askren and Jake Paul, this little boxing match, you know about it?
No, I haven't seen anything on it.
But you know who Jake Paul is, right?
Yes. Yep.
Unfortunately, kid's kind of a douchebag, but he's boxing Ben Askren, who was a champion in MMA, right? When he got to the UFC a couple years ago when he was older, so like he was kind of outside of his prime a little bit. Like he needed hip surgery from all the years of wrestling. He was an Olympic wrestler. That was like his thing. Like he would just basically Khabib everybody. And, he's been in there with some killers, people who have really good striking, and he's got a chin because he's taken a bunch of fucking punches. And Masvidal is the one that kind of went famous because he beat him in like 5 seconds with that flying knee. But other than that, like he'd never been like super crazy rocked. He's always just dominated everybody. He's not known. He's like probably the best dude to pick if you were going to box him, So
Okay.
this box, it's on the 17th, and the lead up to it's been kind of funny, and everybody automatically thinks Jake Paul is going to win, which he does look like he's got some skills, but like when you and Ben Askren's always look kind of weird, like he's not a boxer, right? But he's got that wrestler mentality, and like there's just a weird factor to it, and like it's just I don't even know how many pay-per-views they're going to do. I hope Askren wins just because like it looks like Jake Paul just boxes people that have less skill than him, so like he calls himself a pro boxer and shit, and like a lot of the people in the box community are pissed because of that. There's people, he's making tons of money to fight YouTubers, and he fought Nate Robinson, who has never fucking boxed before in his life, and knocking these people out and like making it seem like he's a legit boxer, so there's so many great upcoming boxers that don't make that kind of money, and they're kind of pissed that like these YouTubers can kind of like cross over and do this, which I never shit on anybody for really making their money really, but I kind of get where they're coming from. But yeah, that fight's this weekend, and I'm just kind of interested to see what goes down. And then, I don't know. I just wanted to bring it up.
Dude, just because of the name, it would be interesting to see. Like, I don't know, if he got his ass beat, that'd be kind of funny
By a wrestler,
because I have seen Jake Paul, like, because I have seen Jake Paul, like, just the shit talking. Like, I don't know, I'm not a big fan. I guess
I'm not a fan. His brother seems a little more chill now. I remember like when we lived together, that's when they started getting popular. Like Logan did, and then and then his brother came along. But yeah, I'm not a fan. I don't get it. I don't know. I just don't get like the internet's a strange place, man. Like if you're younger, like I remember we were shitheads when we were younger too, but like eventually your audience is going to grow out. They're going to get fucking married and have kids, and your audience is going to move on. The question becomes like, what do you do when you're old? Like you're the man now. You're the man now. Like I feel like some of these people get fucking on drugs when they get older and fucking just go crazy.
We missed out on the internet craze by 4 fucking years.
I'm kind of glad.
Yeah.
I mean, just having like MySpace and Facebook alone, like at that time was like.
But at the same time, we can be making fucking
That's
six
true.
figs.
That's true.
Posting random TikTok videos. You know what I mean? Like,
and I would have done that. We would have done that for sure. Yeah. But I'm kind of glad that none of that shit's out there to see. But I don't know. Yeah, there's double-edged sword to both of it. But
yep.
But yeah, I'm rooting for Ben Askren, rooting for the underdog, and just to prove, because he's very open about his game plan. He's like, look, am I a great boxer? No. He's like, but I'm an Olympian. He's like, my cardio is great. He's like, I can bend in deep waters. He hasn't. I think he's just going to dirty box the whole time. And why wouldn't you? But yeah, it'll be interesting. Right. I don't know. But there's also UFC and other shit on this week that I'll probably
that's this weekend that it's on?
Yeah, I think it's on the 17th. What is that, Saturday?
Okay.
I think it's Saturday.
It might be Saturday.
But yeah, so I'm probably working, so I can't watch it, but I'll just go to Twitter because I'm sure it'll fucking be trending at some point. So, but yeah, other than that, man, sports wise, we're good. So, if you want to follow us, that'd be dope. AJXO Pod on Instagram Twitter and TikTok. I've been saying it for a long time. I actually know what clip I'm going to cut for this episode. It's going to be talking shit about Edelman coming from Bills fans. I think it'll be funny, and get the TikTok fans the Patriot fans, getting them pissed off. So that'll be great. But yeah, so
bring it, Patriots fans.
And then there's me and Nick are still we got to talk and see what we want to do about getting this website up so we can start writing and stuff. So let's when we sign off here, I have to go film a game, but we'll talk about it maybe this week, see if we can get that up and running here pretty quick, and so we can start writing some nice content. Yeah. And so got some things coming, and until next week, we'll talk at you then. Y'all be sweet.